Hello, I was diagnosed with hyperacusis in 2022. I'm reading the script because I don't want to miss anything. I'm not a doctor, a therapist, or someone that advises how to deal with this condition. I want to tell my story of what I experienced, learned, and have done to get where I am today. Everything I'm going to share is particular to my story, and I don't advocate anyone doing what I did. It's been a while since I was diagnosed, so I will try to recall everything the best I can. If you or anyone has this horrific condition, you know it's a nightmare to live with, extremely rare, and hard to understand. It baffles doctors, and most doctors know nothing about it. If doctors can't understand it, how can anyone else? If you choose to fight, it's a long road, but there is hope. To the best of my knowledge, I have cochlea hyperacusis because of the headaches and pain hyperacusis because of the pain in my ear. Before I get into my story, I want to provide some helpful background. I was born deaf in one ear, and about 13 years ago, a tumor known as acoustic neuroma was found in my hearing ear. My options were either surgical removal, in which I would lose all the hearing in that ear, gamma knife, which had a good chance of losing the hearing, or cyberknife. I chose cyberknife because it gave me the best chance of retaining some hearing. Since then, I developed tinnitus and slowly continued to lose my hearing. Much of the hearing loss comes in the form of the clarity of spoken words, and it became necessary for me to use a hearing aid. In June of 2022, I filed for divorce after 23 years of marriage with 2 children. A month later, I was in my mother's house watching television when she dropped a couple of dishes. It felt like a knife was shoved into my hearing ear from the crashing sound. Shortly after, I became sensitive to sounds, which gave me headaches. I had to stop using my hearing aid because it increased the pain. I consulted many specialists to find out what was happening to me. The first said it was my facial trigeminal nerve. One said it was the radiation from the cyberknife. Another didn't believe it, and the others had no idea. It wasn't until I reached out to my neurosurgeon who treated my acoustic neuroma that concluded I had hyperacusis, and the only treatment was pain management. I was in shock and devastated. My mother found a pain management facility which had a neurologist who prescribed counseling and migraine medication. The medication only helped a little but made my tinnitus much worse, so I had to stop using it. I just laid in bed all day, but one day got the courage to go outside and get some sun. I began to have split-second dizzy spells every 20 seconds that became so intense they felt like someone was hitting me in the head with a hammer. I went back to my bedroom, otherwise known as my cave. I learned they were brain zaps, again, another rare condition that most in the medical field never heard of with no treatment. I found hyperacusis support groups on Facebook and spent many hours every day on them because members were just like me. They were filled with horror stories with no hope of recovery. I came to realize my life was over as I knew it and stayed in bed virtually 24/7. Most of the members of the group said to totally cover up your ears to prevent pain, even though the medical field disagreed. The medical field advised in doing so would make it worse, and I found that to be true. One day I was getting a shower, the water droplets hitting the floor felt like knives stabbing me in the head. I actually became frustrated and decided to try everything I could to get better. I started covering up less and was able to raise my pain threshold back to where it was before I started covering up. This helped me realize there was hope. My physician put me on an antidepressant, but it caused my tinnitus to get worse, so I had to stop. I began taking the herb ashwagandha, which helped, and I also began taking walks using noise-canceling headphones playing soothing music. I started driving while still using my headphones with the music to keep calm. My physician then had me try another antidepressant. I thought I was cured in one day. I felt great, but it wouldn't last. After about 2.5 weeks, my tinnitus went through the roof. I tapered off as instructed, but when I stopped completely, it became a withdrawal nightmare. I found this to be a common trait with this particular antidepressant. That lasted a couple of days, and then I was back to where I started. Everything slowly became worse. I saw my therapist at the pain management office bi-weekly. He related to me like a friend who I look forward to seeing. I found that the University of Maryland treated hyperacusis and took the earliest appointment. The problem was it was 3 months away and I was not sure I could make it. I also found Trouble Health, which I could get a virtual appointment within a couple of weeks. Everything I found recommended tinnitus retraining therapy, also known as TRT, with cognitive behavior therapy, and Trouble Health offered both, so I made an appointment. TRT is a therapy for tinnitus, which is a device like a hearing aid called a masker that puts a hissing sound in your ear. The person I spoke with was very professional and understanding, and I decided to go with them since Maryland was 3 months away. I'm so glad I did. I had a Zoom meeting for 30 minutes bi-weekly for cognitive therapy and to make any necessary adjustments to my masker. They advised me to do things I enjoyed and stop thinking negatively. I started doing yoga with a nap in the mornings and weightlifting. I always wanted to try painting and gave it a go. I figured it would be best to go out rather than sitting in the house. I would go to the park every day, come home for lunch, then go back until dinner. Everything was going in the right direction until my divorce got worse for me and I felt my hyperacusis was used against me. Every time my divorce went against me, it worsened my anxiety, therefore worsening my hyperacusis and tinnitus. My long-awaited appointment at Maryland University finally arrived. They were very professional and understanding, but after speaking with them, it was decided to stay with Trouble Health because the treatment would be similar and the university was a good distance away. There were times I had to stay in bed for 3 to 4 days in total silence to let the pain subside, or while in the park I needed to walk on the grass because the sound of my feet on the asphalt was making my head feel like it was in a vice. I needed a purpose, so I started picking up trash at the park and would do this every day, all day, even in the rain. My divorce continued to get worse and more stressful, which made my symptoms worse. I also became fearful of sounds. Sometimes a sound would terrify me or feel like a firecracker went off inside my body. I requested a certain other antidepressant to my doctor, which he agreed, and this one I could tolerate. Soon I began counseling and medication management with Harmony Bay Wellness. The last 3 individuals I worked with there were fantastic and felt more like friends. I was doing counseling at both facilities, and soon after the pain management facilities terminated counseling. I switched to another park and they had a walking path with periodic exercise stands. I walked once a day and used the stands and also fed the fish. One therapy was to create a song list that uplifts your spirits and to listen to it for a maximum of 15 minutes a day. I had a speaker on my belt and would do this when walking. I took a comfortable chair to read books and would become so relaxed I'd end up falling asleep. I had good, bad, and terrible days, which I feel my divorce helped to dictate. My daughter, who is a nurse, explained to me that there are good days, bad days, and days that just go sideways, meaning they are neither good nor bad, just different. When my divorce was coming to an end, my symptoms began to get better. I feel a big part of my recovery was due to my wife and her attorney attempting to take things that weren't hers, and when that failed, it elated my nervous system. Since my divorce was finalized, I am much better. My mind will still tend to wander to negative thoughts, but when I realize it's happening, I change to good and thankful thoughts. I was talking to my divorce attorney about how and why I acquired hyperacusis because it's unknown. She pointed out I was very stressed from the divorce, but I expressed I was very happy I was getting a divorce. She explained, even though you think you are happy, you are actually very stressed. My theory is that my body was so stressed from the divorce that it opened the door for hyperacusis to happen to me from the dishes crashing. I was corresponding with another sufferer, and she also was stressed when she acquired hyperacusis. I also feel hyperacusis has more to do with the nervous system taking control and telling the brain how to react to sounds rather than hearing itself. When my anxiety got bad, my hyperacusis got worse. When my anxiety got better, my hyperacusis got better. When I was happier, my anxiety was better, therefore making my hyperacusis better. My spirit, anxiety, and hyperacusis all affected one another. The more I relaxed and was happy, the better I felt. I stopped dwelling on how I got it and focused on getting better. I was given the Book of Joy, which was another tool for my recovery. It changed my thought patterns on life and helped me be a happier person. Anything that made me feel better or happier helped immensely. I collected gifts for children in need at Christmas. I gave of myself as much as I could, and that giving helped me. My faith became stronger, which also helped. I stopped asking why me, but rather what was the plan for me. My plan was to become the best person I could be. I am much better now. My tinnitus can still be bad at times, and I set my master to a little lower in volume than the tinnitus, which sometimes helps. But also at times I choose to ignore it. My anxiety rises when I experience something like revisiting a location or situation when I was at my worst. My biggest fear is when I experience either of these, my brain or nervous system will somehow have a hiccup and revert back to where I was at my worst. I try to stay calm as possible to keep my anxiety from getting worse and creating a snowball effect for everything else. I still had brain zaps, but again, focus on the positive. I also found when I thought I was relaxed that my body would be tensed up and I would need to relax my body. I am grateful for my family and the people that helped me through this very difficult period in my life. Now I'm going to mention things that I learned during my journey. 1. Totally covering up my ears lowered my pain threshold, which made everything worse. 2nd, I limited visiting the Hyperacusis Facebook groups because they could depress me. 3, long hot showers helped with anxiety. 4, hydration was important. 5, I spent as much time as possible out of the house. 6, took up a new hobby. 7, I see an online therapist on a regular basis that I bonded with. 8, corresponded with friends. 9, got plenty of tight hugs which provide emotional support. 10, used the antidepressant. All I tried were of the first generation. 11, focused on positive thoughts and helped ground my emotions. 12, I would constantly repeat, I am going to get better, then change to I'm getting better. 13, I used the sound machine for sleeping with a dial for the volume. I marked it like a clock and kept increasing the volume. I also kept track of the television volume. 14, hypnosis helped to relax me. My hypnotist recorded the sessions and sent them to me to listen to. I would play them at night when I woke. 15, I found a massage location that did massages by the minute and would get 15-minute back and shoulder massages several times a week. 16, I did anything that made me happy. 17, I did a lot of meditation with the Headspace app and noise canceling headphones. 18, the Book of Joy helped to change my outlook on life for the better. 19, there are 2 ways to breathe, with the chest or belly. Belly breathing was better for stress and anxiety. 20, my neurologist recommended magnesium supplements at bedtime. 21, ice on the back of the neck helps with anxiety. 22, I read exhaling through a straw slows breathing that helps anxiety. 23, helping others made me feel good, which helped my anxiety. 24, I read that spending time in nature resets your nervous system. 25, I took melatonin every night for sleep and read it's good for anxiety. I hope my story and the information I provided will help or inspire others in some way. It takes baby steps, and I was thankful for any progress I made. I wish everyone the courage to get through this awful condition. Thank you for watching.